Okay. 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 Hello, hello. How's it going? Okay.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, nice to see you too. 100%. How was your flight?
Landed. I am now Alexis's neighbor.
Nice. Awesome.
See you soon.
That's great. That's awesome. Okay, well, I guess we'll just wait for a sec here and see who kind of funnels in, and then we'll get down to. You're on the beach, hey, Layla? I'm jealous.
Where are you, Layla?
I gotta stuff my
We'll
face.
just guess until you're done chewing. Hawaii?
I'm in the Fiji, Hawaii, those two places at the same time. No, I'm in the Okanagan.
Yeah, where?
There's a fire over that way. Way far away.
Tatiana too. She came right on. I'm stoked. Okay, we'll wait just like 2 more minutes and see kind of what's up. Yeah, Layla, I know it looks like Hawaii. That's where we both live right now, is in the Okanagan. It's super beautiful. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I'm gonna have to pull up a map.
Yeah. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. I'm sure other people are gonna roll in here as we go. I think Kate said that she's gonna be here. Yeah, oh wow. Serendipitous. Okay, rad. I'm sure other people are gonna show up. Hey, Kate.
Hello.
Okay, so have you read the email? You kind of already know what is up. I am really excited about this actually because I wanted to see kind of the next. I wanted to see, like, it's cool to be the Neil show or whatever and facilitate everything. That's tons of fun. But I think it's even cooler to use this space, especially this kind of public forum and space, as a way to kind of like share facilitation kind of practice, and also everybody's got a different vibe. So everyone's going to run the call in a different way, and I'm really excited about that, just to see how the facilitator works with everybody's conversation, what they pull out of people, like what they choose to kind of pursue in the different conversations that happen, where they choose to move along. Right on, change here. So yeah, Devin has graciously accepted the first kind of round here to be the facilitator. And then my dream here is, my vision is that every week I'm going to kind of approach a different person and get them to see if they like the particular chapter we're on. Hey, Jane. We're just talking about how I'm kind of the vision for the next little stint here, of having a different facilitator. Did you read the email?
I've just looked at it. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you're kind of on the same level already. So So yeah, I just think it would be really cool to see how different people facilitate it. I'm going to approach different people as we go. I don't have a fixed order. I'm just kind of like, okay, I think this person might like this particular chapter, and I'm just going to approach different people. And I would love if everybody at a different time, yeah, could facilitate the call. So without further ado, I am going to shift the hosting over to Devin as soon as I figure out how to do that. And we're going to let him take the reins.
I'm the host.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm happy I can support you in your vision of making this more collaborative and more of a society. And I'm just really excited about what's been happening here for several weeks now. And I know that this is like the core group. It's good to see each of you. And I also know that there's like the whole lurking class. There are all the people just catching the replays, and I forget about that in a lot of our calls. Like other people are checking in on this, and this is having a ripple that is unseen. So excited for this chapter. I'm curious why Neil chose this one to reach out to me to facilitate. And I have some theories, but it's incredibly short, and it seems to be the essence of everything that we've been discussing, and really how to implement these principles, how to turn it into action, how to make it real. So it's so simple that I think we can actually get through the chapter. I'd be surprised if we can't. It's basically 2 pages. So it's this and this. 2 paragraphs, 1 paragraph, 1 model. So let's begin here. And I'm really excited to make this a conversation about our own personal experience with what we found in each of these. Maybe we'll see some old things in new ways where one of these pieces of this process has been a weak link. Maybe we've completely forgotten about it. Maybe we've tried to go out of order, and that's where things have not really been working. But I feel like there's, even with a small group like this, a wealth of information that you've earned yourself from maybe going out and connecting with people, and maybe we missed this component of who would I love to speak to. Maybe you're connecting with not really the people that you'd love to speak to. Maybe yeah, we can have weak links in any of these, and I think we're just going to have such a rich conversation about how we bring these principles to life. So I want to begin by Neil's perceptive acuity is rubbing off on me. And the moment I opened this up, I realized the first time I went through this book, I don't think I looked at the diagrams like this. And this time I'm like, ideal clients, phase 1, top company. I definitely didn't catch that the first time that I went through this. I completely blew past it. And there's so much in even that. Top company, who would I love to speak to? And what if it's not the people that are just in our immediate circle? Maybe we don't even know these people yet. And it makes me think of setting the bar high and clearing it. What if setting the bar high was people in top companies that don't even seem like they're reachable to us? And the same principles can be applied, and we can actually go impact those people with more influence and impact. And yeah. So I'm curious, does anyone have any wobbliness around who they would love to speak to? Like, is this part nailed for everyone here? No, we've got some no's. Is this like a big frustration of like, who do I even want to talk to? Yeah, okay. Okay, so almost everyone here, which could possibly make all of the other sections of this process a little bit difficult. So I love how intentional this process is, and if we don't have clarity on the first part, how do we go do all the other things? So let's I'll briefly read through this, and then we can kind of open it up. But let's just go through the 4 pieces of this process: connect, invite, do your thing, create, and propose. So we get to define who it is that we'd like to speak to. Who would I love to speak to from a top company, that ideal client? Does anyone have that? Is that clear? Neil? Yeah? Awesome. Cool. And then this invitation of this simple question, or our own variation of it, of would you like to experience a powerful coaching conversation? It's so simple. It's such a simple question. Has anyone tried that question yet? Has anyone asked it? No? Okay, I might be the only one. When I first saw this, I don't know about anyone else, when I first saw this, I was like, that's far too simple. It can't be that easy. There's got to be like a 12-step process to this at least. Okay, so be a professional coach, not a social one. And do the coaching magic. Wow them. So stage 3, serve them so powerfully they never forget your conversation for the rest of their life. No pressure. No pressure, guys. I have a feeling that everyone here has had that experience. Like, has it, regardless of putting all of these components together, does everyone have a moment in your experience where you're like, that was an incredible session that will change things for the rest of their life? Does everyone has experienced that, right? I think that's the reason why we're here. Like, we're still working on putting the other pieces together and refining the other pieces, because we're like, this thing changes lives. This is great. And then the 4th one, propose. Like, hey, you want to do more of this? Are you in? Hell yeah, or no. Cool. Why don't we drop in the chat, out of all of these, which one would you most want to focus on in this time together? And we can see kind of like what the commonalities are for everyone here today. Invite, yeah. Thank you, Kate. Yeah, what feels like the wobbly bit that if we really locked in at a new level, you'd feel like this time was really spent well? Proposing, closing the deal. All right, we'll put that with proposal. 4. 2 areas for me are wobbly, 1 and 4. Makes sense. Okay, so you're solid at doing the thing. It's interesting to me that no one said 3. Like, we're all good at doing the coaching. It's all the other bits. This is great. 2 and 4, Layla, thank you. Invite and propose. Cool. I want to point something out. We got basically a lot on 2 and 4 as the points to emphasize in this time. But when I asked how many people were clear on who they would love to speak to, it didn't seem like everyone had that piece locked in. So is there a possibility that we're missing or that we're skipping steps and making this whole process much harder? Maybe. Awesome. Well, that's the overview. Let's just go through this and then we'll open it up. It's definitely not the Devin show today, and I want to hear everyone's beautiful minds on this. All right. So try this step-by-step process. Again, Neil, you're rubbing off on me. I'm even looking at the title and I'm like, no, it's not. This is the conceptual step-by-step process. It's try. We need to implement this. Turn it into action. All right. There really are proven steps to take for creating clients. And they don't involve marketing or growing an email list or adding another 1,000 followers on Twitter. They don't even require social media, a website, or a business card. Despite what the quote unquote experts tell you, this process is powerful and it works. Take a look. Connect, invite, create, propose, clients. So we're going to be talking about this for the rest of the time today. Does anyone have anything that they would love to share? Any insights from just looking at this and maybe revisiting it at a little bit of a deeper level or refreshing? Any like ahas that you want to share? Yes, Kate.
Thanks. The connect thing, who would I love to speak to? When I first came across this dashboard that Rich creates, I didn't think I knew anybody. And I know I've had that conversation with some people in this group. And that was just a story because it meant that if I didn't know anybody, I didn't have to do the hard thing, which was to create the opportunity for conversations. So I didn't know anybody. Of course, I was recovering from mute as well. So there's lots of reasons why I didn't have to talk. So then Catherine Nicholas, I don't think she's on this group, and she challenged me and said, strike up communication with 30 people. This was last September. Just do the thing. So suddenly me and LinkedIn are best friends, and it's like, who where have I worked? Type in the employer names, and suddenly there's old friends, people that I was really close to. And where would I love to work? Do I know anybody there? And I started, and it's really hard to define what happened, but the LinkedIn presence, talking about things that I share as well and noticing who comments. And if there's somebody new who I haven't seen before that comments, I'm like, oh, what did you notice about that? And truly, there's been this guy liking my comments for ages. And last week I'm like, what is it? What is it that resonated with you? And it was an age thing. He didn't say, well, you're so old and you're making change and I'm half your age, therefore surely it's possible for me, but that's kind of what he meant. And we had a conversation, and this morning he signed up to have 6 sessions. So connecting with somebody that there's a presence going on, but there'd been conversation. So if we go back to nothing's ever created outside of a conversation, having the connections, creating the connections, people are liking for a reason, people say stuff for a reason. And there's billions and trillions of people. So I do a little bit of stalking and I think, oh, well, they put nice stuff up actually, so I'd love to speak to them. And people that I know, I find a bit harder because I'm like, oh God, I don't want to be pushy. But actually I've reached out to them as well and got the clarity, and they either say, yeah, I'd love to hear more, or like, oh God, coaching is so not for me. But then that means I don't have to wonder. I've got a hell yes, let's have a conversation, or absolutely not. So connecting, yeah, it's surprising how many people I knew or know. I think that's been the biggest thing for me.
What a gem. I have to ask, did you connect with those 30 people?
Yeah, I've got like 174 on my list now.
Woo!
I've got a spreadsheet, of course I have.
Too. You're tracking and making it real. Thank you for that. That was so epic. And something that I saw in this for the first time is that you took this principle of hell yeah or no and applied it to every one of them. So you're like, oh yeah, that's also over here for when I just invite them. There can be a hell yes or no there. And we can also apply that here for like, do I want to connect with this person? Hell yeah or no? So that's the first time. No.
And asking myself that, do I want to connect with them? Hell yeah, I do. Or Actually, no, I don't. So applying it to me as well as getting the clarity from them.
Yeah. And I like that it begins with checking in with yourself. It's like, who would I love to speak to? Yeah. You, Kate, who would you love to speak to? Neil, what's coming up for you?
Yeah, I find this connect piece to be, well, yeah, obviously pivotal. It's really what kicks it all off. And kind of both in the micro and the macro. Like when it comes to me personally, finding the people to connect with, and then also like getting curious about who to connect with, and then having the belief that I can connect with them, you know, that I have something to offer, that I have a service that's relevant. And also kind of doing what Mary had said, and when she came on and hung out with us, that she would do research on these people, sometimes for months before she approached kind of like these high rolling or high flying people, so that she knew that she actually had something worthwhile to connect on them, to connect with them on. And just recently, I've seen a lot of people on Facebook in different realms, different industries, kind of using blanket statements or generalization or inviting people to things or like adding me to chats and stuff like that without approaching me personally and figuring out how I would connect with that. So they haven't connected with me, so I don't feel connected to what they're doing. And then I feel almost more removed when they add me to this big generalized thing, because it seems like they're afraid to connect with me personally and to discover what it is that's how their service could benefit me. And I feel that I know that because I've been in the same place before. I know what it's like to like do things in a general way in order to avoid failing like in the micro, rather than going to someone and being like, hey, I feel like we could really work together and I could provide something really powerful for you, and them saying no. Instead, I could just say, hey guys, I got something that you'd really like. And if no one says anything, I can blame it on my marketing or blame it on the day of the week or the hour that I posted it or whatever. It's very hard to blame anything but your own way of connecting when it's directly with the person that you're talking to. So like the connect part for me brings up a lot of personal value things, brings up a lot of like, and it also brings up a lot of like, have I really sussed out what I have to offer? Does it feel clean? Does it feel on point? Does it feel like this is about them, or does it feel like it's about me? So it's a big filter system, I find, because it's in the micro. It's way easier in the macro to just be like, yeah, I'm this person. So much harder when you're really there in the moment and they can take in your vibe. So that's what I feel that's why a big reason why it's a stumbling block for me is because of how real you have to be. I have to be.
Yeah, I would love to pull on that thread, because I know that you went with that more generalized, more conventional approach. And I love that you you talk about this fear of making it specific and making it personalized. Like you're on the line when you make it real and personalized and connect with one person. And it's interesting that you point out that we can kind of hide behind this illusion of safety by just making these generalized marketing messages and then blaming our marketing. But it doesn't create safety with you. It doesn't create community. It doesn't create connection. And it was also really interesting to hear on the user side, or like the community member side, if you do go into that, you feel like you're not really a part of it. Like they didn't take the time to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if someone came to me and was like, hey, I have been checking out your content, you know, or I've been checking out your drumming or your music or any of this stuff, and I really noticed that there's always this one thing it must be a stumbling block for you, because I'm watching and I can see it's a stumbling block. It turns me off from your stuff or blah, blah, blah. It does something that makes your apparent value just not work in the marketplace. I would be like, what? What? Okay, so could you explain that better? And they're like, yeah, for sure. It's like this and like this, and showed me. I'd be like, okay. And if they're like, do you want to have a conversation around this? And maybe I could provide some value. I'd be way more interested than if I'm just scrolling through Facebook and see some offer that's sponsored or some marketing plan or some piece of copy. You know what I mean? It's solving my personal problem. And then if the person solved my problem, hell yeah, I'm going to talk about that person.
I love that. Okay, one final piece with this. Neil, how many times have you had someone reach out to you like that? Where the and this is an idea from Nick, but where the connection itself felt like service.
Only a few times, like when I first started my Instagram page, I remember someone, like I had posted a link to my music in the comments on a post, like in Instagram, that I had done. And someone private messaged me and was like, hey man, just so you know, in Instagram, you can't copy and paste from a link. And then they kind of quickly taught me, they're like, most people are not going to like leave a platform unless it's really useful for them. So try to do everything in-house in the platform. And if you need them to leave, make it be something that's really going to be a big impact for them, and make it easy. And they direct messaged me that. And I was like, wow. And I didn't even question that because the person had gone out of their way to teach me that, and to show me like a critical error in what I was doing. And that's as far as that went with that person. But if they had been like, yeah, and I've got 20 other tips because I spend all my time on Instagram, and if you want to learn about them, I have this course on what you could do, and we could have a personal conversation about how this could, to see if you would be a good fit. I'd be like, okay, because they already provided the service that caught me. I'm hooked already. It's already been a useful, they sold me the experience already. So they enrolled me right away. I'd be like, you must know what you're talking about because this makes sense and it's been immediately helpful. So that's where I feel a lot of people miss out on the macro. They think, okay, I need a bigger net. I need to get more people in the net, and I need it to be a generalized way of getting them in the net, because then I'm going to get more turnover. I'm going to, I'm going to create more clients through that or whatever. But I don't think that that's true.
I don't either. I think that's the reason why we're here. And who else has like terrible cringeworthy connection requests in their inbox that you're like, I don't want to have a conversation if that's how we start. I'm not the only one, right?
No.
You're like, you clearly did not take any time to look at what we're doing here. Layla. Let me unmute you.
Oh, thank you. You can do that. That's awesome.
Just for you.
Thank you. That's really cool, Neil, the part where you said about like selling the experience. So I've been looking at this logo, and you know what it reminds me of is the reduce, reuse, recycle arrows. How they were chasing arrows, as in one led to the other, 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 led to. Do you know what I mean? So I've been sitting here looking at the logo, and I think that the only thing that Mr. Litvin has messed up is that he put numbers, and then when he moves down into the chapter, he makes it linear, like actual paragraph chapter, that it goes from one to the next. And what we know of the reduce, reuse, recycle arrows, either he shouldn't have put the arrows or he shouldn't have put the numbers, because to me they are not the reduce, reuse, recycle arrows was not about a linear process. It was saying that each of those 3 concepts were an integral part of reducing waste. So if I look at just the arrows, then each 4 of these concepts are an integral part of creating clients. Sometimes, depending on the item, like if we think about the reduce, reuse, recycle thing, does everybody, I don't know if that's just Canadian, or do we all know the arrows? If we, if you think about, like, let's say you have a tub of yogurt. So you eat the tub of yogurt. You can choose when you're done the tub of yogurt. Are you gonna recycle it? So you're gonna throw it in your blue bin? That's one of the arrows. Are you gonna rinse it out and use it to like bring snacks to a beach? Wish I could show you my yogurt container. Or to begin with, did you maybe decide that that week you were gonna get the bacteria? Yeah, that thing. You were gonna get that acidophilus, and you were going to get some whole milk from the store in a glass jar, and you were actually just going to make it, thusly reducing the actual use of plastic. So if we just look at the arrows as these chasing arrows that offer us these 4 different, in this case, these 4 different ideas around creating client, or as Neil likes to talk about, the prosperous person, like offering prosperity into the world, that these are like things that would support prosperity, not just client. Then why does he put the numbers? Then why in the chapter does he make it linear? Why does he say it has to go step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4? And I get that he says, this is super simple. It's just this simple. Well, no, Mr. Livin, it's not that simple in my world, because sometimes, depending on what is going on, how I've been approached, how the connections, depending on what kind of, what is it? Is it the yogurt? Is it the egg carton? Can I even reuse the egg carton at all? So depending on the person who I'm engaging with, they might already feel connected. Okay, so I don't have to do so much there. They might have invited themselves. I don't know if y'all have had people invite themselves into a coaching conversation with you, and you're like, whoa, I don't even know who you are, or like for me with birth clients, women will literally be like, and when do I send the money? I'm like, we need to say hi for a minute here. I would like to know, or then down at the bottom, what does that say? The creating, like sometimes, like for instance, at this festival I went to, and I was standing at this table, and there was a woman there who was a very young mother, and she had a potential first birth client. She'd never done it before. We had a chat very informally. I didn't know her. So in one moment we connected. We had that powerful conversation. She'll never forget. Like we had a really powerful conversation. I said, do you want to, work with me to create something that would, and she's like, yeah, I'm ready. So we actually didn't even necessarily, kind of number 2 and 4 sort of smushed together, Anyways, what I'm trying to say, long-windedly, I suppose, because the beach is so distracting, I'm sorry, is that I just don't know whether putting those chasing arrows and having, especially that he put at number 4, the arrow goes right back in, which is exactly the same thing that the recycle, reduce, reuse thing was all about. It was all about this constant ebb and flow. And sometimes it didn't go like this. Sometimes it was a star. Sometimes you did this recycle bit so I just wonder what you guys think. Why did he make it chasing arrows and then also put numbers and also make it linear? How do those, to me, those 2 things don't work together? I'm interested in what you guys think.
That's juicy. Thank you, Layla.
Juicy. Mm.
It is. It is. And I would never have thought of that. Thank you. Does anyone want to weigh in on this? I definitely have some thoughts. Kate, yeah, please.
I completely asked myself that question, and it was following a conversation that Neil and I had on Saturday about free association and the flow. There is a natural flow, and it might not always be in this particular order. So yeah, that whole conversation that we've had, Neil, made me think that it's more like a dance than it's not a choreographed dance. It's much more free than that, and that those things might happen in an unexpected order. So yes, I get it, the way you're thinking is, Layla.
And does it also sort of liberate in seeing that, and yeah, that flow, that unexpected flow that might happen, does it also kind of liberate the pressure, I guess, that when I first looked at it, for me, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, well, if I'm not doing 1, then can I do 3? Or if I skip 2, is 4 ever going to happen? Or, like, does it also, when you just look at the arrows, does it kind of, I guess I'll just speak for me, but I'm curious for you guys, it sort of liberates the expectation that one has to follow the next in order to quote unquote succeed.
When it came to me, and I've forgotten what I was going to say. Something about opening. So conversations happen all the time, don't they? Conversations happen. So it feels easier to not have quite such a rigid structure in my head. Oh, okay, I'm having a conversation, keeping it simple, listening. Because in every conversation, people share stuff every single time. And I was swimming the other day, and this woman suddenly starts telling me that she's 47 and her mum's 76, and she's went home during COVID and she hasn't done anything about it. And she's still living there, and it's great, but she just wants to do something else. And the question that I ask, that somebody famous said, why don't you always ask this question? But it's so lovely. What would you like to have happen? And then they go off and think some more. And that doesn't feel like there's no formality there. It's, what would you like to have happen? And then they start to think more. So I don't know. I think it's just in connect. Maybe it's all in connection, connectedness. Yeah, maybe there's just one, and it's connectedness.
What a great question, Kate. Thank you. Neil.
I definitely think that there is some, well, there's a lot of validity to what Layla is saying about kind of you can kind of mix up the steps or start at different places in the steps. I think too that one of the reasons why Rich kind of fabricated it like this is to would you kind of challenge you in the ways that can be sometimes uncomfortable, in the sense that when you look for people to connect with, that is a self-driven process. Like, you're actually looking for and building the filters of people that you want around you. So that's kind of, it's different than taking in what's happening, what you're just kind of reacting to, which also has its value. But having a bit of an idea of who you're trying to connect with and who you're trying to filter out can create a big impact. I think also when he's talking about inviting people, like, to be a professional coach, not a social one, I think in this particular situation, he's really trying to help you seal up some holes that really can be a problem for lots of people in lots of areas of their life. The difference between being kind of a social person and being a professional person, not just a social coach and a professional coach. Like being able to manifest a professional energy, which can be really difficult for people. You know, it can be difficult for me to like, there's some areas in my life where I can very quickly step into a professional energy. Like if I'm in the studio or if I'm on stage, like my experience of the world and the energy that I have changes. It shifts because I'm experienced with that way of being. So I think that there is something to be kind of said in this formula for people who are creating this formula in their being or embedding it into their being. Like if you're in a situation where someone says something to you that is like Kate is kind of saying, like where you're on the beach and someone says something to you and you're a coach or you're a powerful listener and you hear into what they're saying. So the way that your being shifts and you use that shift of being to invite them into a professional conversation, the person is probably 9 times out of 10 going to feel that shift in you. They're going to be like, whoa, this is, and it will generate some curiosity. So like, and then the same thing with connecting, like how are you going to connect, like the shift out of how you normally are, and then connect in the way that's going to be to create a powerfully prosperous moment. So I agree with the free association style thing, and especially like as a jazz musician, I guess you'd say, or like a free style artist type person. Like when you get to the point of mastery in anything, you can deconstruct and rip it apart and look at all the different components. And that's a really good thing to do. I think it's also really good to first embed the formula into yourself. You know, it's like embed the scales or embed the color palette or like embed the sales techniques, because then you can start to kind of pull them apart and ask yourself, what step could I skip? You know, like even the same thing in a coaching situation or a sales situation. If you're a salesperson, and you've probably had this happen to you before, where someone proposes to sell you something and you're like, you know, I'd actually really like that. And then they just kind of continue with their sales script. You're like, oh yeah, okay, well, you obviously, this is you don't know how to jump ahead and skip a couple steps because we're already got what you need, you know? But having the script really fleshed out, like, oh, this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. These all flow into each other. This creates a formula. If you start at number 1 and you move to 2 and you move to 3 and you move to 4, that's like a really strong way to create clients. And find your holes in this process, then free associate. I think that's kind of like, I think that's what Rich is trying to kind of get at, is that because if you free associate too soon, then you might not find the gaps like Devin was saying. You might be like, I don't really like connecting, but if someone is around, I'll totally create a conversation that's powerful. Or like, you know what I mean? Or like, I don't like proposing, but I'm really good at inviting people to a conversation and creating a good coaching experience, you know? So you don't work on the holes in the different parts of the process. I just wanted to bring that to the forefront, because I think that is like, that's why the structure is there. Not to say the structure can't be deconstructed, but that's kind of my like weigh in on the process. It's like the difference between lower faculty thinking and higher faculty. Lower faculty is just follow the formula. Higher faculty is like, hey, now I understand it. What do I do with it? And like, when do you decide to make that shift? Like when have you filled in all the holes? When do you really know that? Like for me, sorry, this is a bit of a thing, but like connect, invite, create, great at. Propose, suck. Like, really suck. So like if I don't go through the steps and then go to propose, there's going to be, it doesn't create the energy to get to propose. Like I can't, if I went just to propose, then it's probably not going to work. But since I'm still young in following the steps and really making the proposal strong based off connecting, inviting, and creating, I won't really know how to strengthen it. That's how I kind of feel about it.
What a gem. There was so much in there to unpack. Thank you, Neil. 1 second. Jane, I see your hand is raised, and yeah, I would love to hear what you have to say first.
It was just something that Neil just said then, actually. And I had a lovely conversation with Bloom yesterday, I think it was. And we were talking about this propose and the challenge I have with propose. And she just said to me, we'll come from the same energy in the same place as you are when you're serving. Don't change energy. Be in that same space. And that kind of just like unlocked it for me a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm coming from that same space. Don't come out of yourself, because when I'm serving, I feel like I'm listening from within the person. And it's just like, stay within the person, stay listening from within. Don't come out. I was like, okay, that's unlocked it. Going back to the connect step though, I think the element for me with connect is the ideal client bit. I think that when I highlight to myself the sort of person I'd like to work with, I get a little bit of a kind of feeling like, but will they want to connect with me? And that comes to play, and that's where I stall. It's that bit first, and so that's the bit I need to unlock. It's a little bit in me that needs to be unlocked.
Oh, I'm already unmuted. Neil, that plays so well into what you were just saying about being solid and what you have to offer, and like you have to be the first one to enroll yourself. What do you have to say about that?
I just want to say, Jane, I feel like what you're saying there about, finding the right person and if they want to connect with you, I think that is a widespread problem. That is why this is a prosperous person. Like, that's not just to do with sales and marketing. That's to do with humans connecting with other human beings. Like, you see a person you want to connect with, how many people ask themselves, well, would that person want to connect with me on whatever it is? It's not just like a sales and marketing tool thing. It's a literal, is there a sense of belonging? Like, am I going to belong with this person? Is there going to be, am I going to be kind of held in this conversation? Is it going to be safety? Is it going to be security? Am I going to have to step outside of my comfort zone? It's like a real thing. So I feel the same way. I think everyone feels the same way. And if you watch someone who's really good in any situation in life, like the real movers and shakers, they're so good at connecting. They just go to someone and start connecting. Like their intrinsic sense of value in life is there. And that's for me something I'm really trying to understand is like, who do I want to speak with? How do I connect with them? And then how do I get my sense of personal value right so that I can do that, so that I can be in the moment with them too. So I hear you, and I'm seeing it everywhere. That's why I found this particular part of the book to be so interesting, and why I also wrote in the email why this is the lifeblood of the book, because I think it's the lifeblood of being a prosperous person. So that's my
100%. Yeah, this stuff does not just apply to coaching. And I think that's the coolest part about this. Like, I want to thank this group because I'm seeing this show up in my family life, in relationships that are not professional at all. Like these are just foundations of building relationships. And I think to circle back to Layla with kind of a resistance of sequencing, I think it's easier maybe for me to see the value in the sequencing, if we were to take this and go, this is not about coaching, let's talk about a relationship. Let's talk about a romantic relationship. It would be really weird if I went out and proposed to someone first. Like that would probably not work very well. Probably be weird for me, probably be weird for them. I don't know if like cops get called when you do that stuff. Like that's not how things work. And what I see in this is like there's also a distinction here where this is like proactive prospecting in a way. This is active client creation. And there are nuances in the way that it can work, but chances are you kind of accelerated step 1 and 2 just from doing your work and putting it out there, and you kind of shortcutted the process. But it would be weird if you went the other way around. It'd be weird if you were just like talking to any women that you didn't even know were pregnant and were like, you want to hire me to help you with your baby? Like you don't even know if they're pregnant or not yet. That would be weird, right? So I really see the value in the sequencing here, because if we go the opposite way, I see so many ways that it falls short. And I also, just like getting kind of spam invites in your inbox, I see it all the time where people jump steps and it's like, no, that doesn't work. You can't, like, don't just pitch me off the bat. You don't even know me. So I think this is a liberating structure that we can go, it's a framework. Of course, there are exceptions. We can play with it. We can do the free form jamming, but this is a great place to start. Alexis.
What's up, everybody? Okay, hang on, lower hand. There we go. Lower the hand. I always have a little anxiety when I take these calls in cafes because I'm like, is it too loud? So just gotta like say that. I'm like, oh my God. But I really want to chime in.
Golden.
Cool. I love how our conversations are tangential and I'm like, what piece do I want to talk on next? But I first want to relate this hilariously to astrology, because it's like when someone tells you your sun sign, like for me, I'm a Cancer. There's so much more going on. There's so much more going on. And this in itself is an invitation. You can find yourself in the flow. It's not the only way to do something. It doesn't mean like when someone tells you have to do something a certain way, right? Like these are the only steps. And so I wanted to like name that, because it's like sometimes we find resistance when we find a new structure and we're like, oh, this person's saying like this is the only way to create clients, and there's some resistance there. I'm like curious about that for Layla as well. But what's cool, and Layla's already like doing this naturally, is it depends on where you are in your business as well. I think this is really good. I see this as a formula for if you're trying to create maybe some of your first clients, or if you're going really high level and you're like positioning yourself to go for a high target, because then you're doing the research. I just had a session with Mary yesterday, y'all. It was amazing. And so I'm like, oh my God, this is how I'm gonna do it. If I'm gonna Hail Mary, if I'm gonna go for it, I'm gonna be doing the connect, the invite, the create, and the propose, right? Possibly. Or it's for first time clients. And what I'm feeling into is like the discernment when you have a business that's up and flowing, like what I see for my business eventually. Like I'm about to launch my own community, and I don't necessarily need to give people an experience to invite them into a community. It's like where you're going to plug and play clients that are coming into your world. And so I feel like this is really good for like one-to-one work, which he is talking about. But I just found that to be interesting to be like, oh, if people are like coming into my world and it's for like a membership call, I don't necessarily need to like suss them out super hard or give them an experience. It's like, hey, here's a link, it's like, could be connection. There's like different ways to flow through the chart, but I do think it is cyclical. Like we can't necessarily just start with the proposition and then go to an invite, right? There is like the natural spiral that goes through it. What was the other thing I wanted to talk about? All right, some things down on the side so don't forget. I think that's all. For this moment.
That's so good, Alexis. As you shared, I had an insight around, because I know what you're building, and I I want to share something here that might illuminate kind of our relationship with the social media and how we're using that and how we can actually use it more effectively if we kind of run it through this framework. And Layla, I'll open it up for you in a sec. But what I'm realizing is like we're looking at the exceptions, let's say in an internet business, if you if you open up a community and you're inviting people and you're like, I don't even need to give them a personalized experience or suss them out or like define who I need to speak to. And you are already. And to have social media work, I forget who said it, it may have been a different call, but it's like the internet is just humanity at scale, right? So imagine, yeah, Neil, we'll give all credit to Neil. Neil Gray once said, the internet is humanity at scale. And if you go down that rabbit hole with branding and really clearly articulating a strategy, it begins with like avatar and niche and who are you speaking to? And then you should have call to actions on your post. That's an invite. And the serve them so powerfully that they never forget is them experiencing your community. So it's like, it may not be one-on-one, but it still seems to follow this model. Layla, what are you thinking over there?
I'm thinking this is so awesome. That's what I'm thinking. Alexis, heck yeah. And I think what you know what you were saying about like, where's your business at? And then Neil, I really appreciated how you were like, well, you master something and then you're the jazz musician that can freaking pull, you can do this little doodly doo and it's gonna be fantastic because you've mastered the flow. And I guess I just wanted to reflect back that two little things. So maybe the part that made me go, what is this? What is this thing? Is first of all, with my own, so I have 3 different businesses. I'm a performing recording artist. I am a birth worker. And over the past year or so, I've been developing my inner voice coaching business. And it's even like still hard to like come out of my mouth. So the music business and the birth business, when I look at this chart and I'm like, okay, well, if I run it through my mastery of creating ideal clients, especially that number 1, when you get all the way to the end, number 1, 2, 3, 4, that little arrow that comes back, I think I'm seeing it now as like, that's not the chasing arrow of reduce, reuse, recycle where you go over again. I see why he put 1, 2, 3, 4, because inevitably you're going to do it again because you want another client. Like, so you're going to go all the way through and then you're going to go, huh, okay, I think I'll connect again. Right. And that can sometimes technically be happening. You have multiple clients coming at you. So you're at different stages. So if I think about it from the lens of like, my birth work, to attack the number 1, and I would say at this point, I do feel a sense of personal mastery in how I create clients for my birth work. So how you were saying, Neil, that you can kind of sometimes you're maybe gonna, that makes sense. So in that way, it's reduce, reuse, recycle thing. It makes sense when you're in that mastery zone and you're like, well, I don't need to do this part because I already figured that out. But the one thing that still sticks out to me is that first number 1 connection, how it says, is it still up? How it says ideal client, top company. Who would I love to speak to? Who would I love to speak to? And this is, so I'm looking not just, and mad respect, Jane, and when we are like trying to connect, we're like, oh my God, is this person gonna be cool with this connection? I had to smack in with my birthing business to so many freaking walls where down to the point of having a pretty big, what I would consider failure, in that the client that I had connected with and done number was 1, 2, 3, 4, that first part about who would I love to be speaking with, or who would I love to be, I kind of just like did it because you know, and I didn't focus enough on, but who am I putting myself in front of? Because we're the people who is not really actually, and again, respect, but it's not really actually about whether the people out there like me or whether they think that I'm cool to connect with. I'm the one who has to go home after providing service to my children. I'm the one who has to like have loved that connection, truly loved it. And I, after years of doing this work, that connection piece is absolutely number one, really. It's number one. And at this point, I create my ideal clients through a series of questions that allow me to filter out people that I do not want, that I won't love serving, that I won't love speaking with, whether or not they think that they might actually think that I'm the perfect person. Sometimes they're like, no, please, you know, so I just wanted to touch on those few things. Then when I think about my like, you know, how certain clients have come through, say, a referral, and I've already, or maybe repeat clients, I don't need to do number one again, and, you know, right? Like, because I've already, so that to me is more of that like mastery piece of this cycle, but that's only in that, you know, business, and maybe in my music business too. But when it comes to my rooted temple stuff, I will admit that there's spots that are missing. And just, I guess, in the way you both, Alexis and Neil, were talking about those, like, where are you at in the bid, like the levels. I was like, oh, wow, I'm so good at this one or two businesses over here. I'm good. I got that. I definitely always have places to grow, but holy shit, I wonder if I can like bring that mastery forward and over to what I'm trying to do, with my rooted temple, you know, because then that's where I'm like saying, oh, well, maybe it happens in a star pattern. Because you're right, that is resistance to like it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to do with certain of these steps when we're not feeling masterful in it. We're like, oh fuck, really? I gotta ask this person, like my shoulders, like in my whole body is like, no, I want to ask this person if they want to have like a, you know, a whatever that statement, would you like to experience a powerful coaching conversation? Like, I don't know that I can say that yet. Anyways, so gratitude for that clarity.
So much gold in there. Neil, I'll get to you in a sec. I have a question. What's that?
Sorry, there's
Just
people
background.
at the beach.
No worries.
Yeah,
No worries.
beach.
Layla, I would love, before we go on, what I heard in there was you have some like hard-won wisdom from, you were like, yeah, I experienced some failure. This didn't work. This process didn't work. And I would love to ask you about that, because I think we could all learn from that. And it sounded like, I may have misunderstood, but it sounded like you didn't have the criteria specified in who you actually want to work with in that step one. And now you have those questions, you have that more specified criteria, and now things are working. But like, what was not working when you were experiencing the failure?
So and I presume that this would be different for every, you know, like how in that little circle, it says like the ideal client. Ideal is the key word. And who do I love to speak with? So each of us would have different ideals, and we'd each love different specific people that we want to speak with. And getting over the fear of rejection, number one, making sure that I understood that when someone said no to me, it meant that it was just not a great fit and that there was somebody else better out there. Also, in my work in birth, I need women to be able to take care of themselves. They need to be able to support themselves. They need to be responsible individuals who are not addicted to drugs. They walk every day. They take care of their nutrition, because, hold on a sec, there's leeches. Ugh. I doubt it. The lake is big. Okay, I'm gonna keep talking. I love you. My children are swimming and scared of leeches that don't exist. That's a perfect, we can be afraid of things that don't exist. But with the people that I started bringing in, I started asking very specific questions that I found over time could reveal to me, is this person responsible? Like, is what I'm going to have to offer going to make an impact? Because again, it's like, am I going to love this? Like, am I going to go home and love this? If somebody is just doing it for a fad, or doing it for their friends told them it would be cool, it could actually put the birth itself, because we're talking about birth, that's what could put it at risk. If a woman presents herself to me in a way that's complete bullshit, and we get to the very end, she's freaking out. And I'm like, whoa, like, where is this coming from? And that totally did happen. And I had to be so firm in what I knew I was there for, So it really wasn't, it very quickly after that completely released the like wish to people please edge borders, or the wish to like make someone be okay with my service. It more was me. So like, it's really that word at the top that says creating clients. Is that what it says at the top of that thing?
Yeah.
That's what this really is. It's really truly creating the client. It could be freaking anyone. But depending on what we as the service or providers, it came down to like, for birth, it came down to like mindset. Like, I'm working from a very specific mindset, and I know the mindset that I'm working from. Where are you working from? What's your mindset? What's your paradigm? Are you flexible? Are you responsible? Is anything that I'm going to say gonna work for you? Not the other way around. Not, do you like what I'm saying? I don't give a shit now. Like, you're probably gonna like what I'm saying. But do I like what you're saying to me? Am I able to like weed out and clarify, talk about clarity, right? Clear the air to see, okay, am I creating a really great client here who's going to have a fantastic experience, a powerful inner transformation, an amazing birth filled with safety and wellness and, all the good stuff. So yeah, I definitely I told Neil a couple months ago, it's like, to create the client, you're sitting on the call and there's just a flow now, and by the end of the one call, I'm deciding whether or not I want to work with that person instead of the other way around. I'm creating.
Thank you. I love that you emphasized ideal. And in that, I saw that it's actually in a way to serve them. It's not even necessarily about you. It helps you be confident in who you are and what you have to offer, speaking back to how Neil opened it up. But it's like, what are the criteria so that I know that they will get the best results possible?
And
That
yeah,
what I
and
do will be valued. That's awesome.
I
Neil.
just got excited. I got excited because sometimes the coolest thing, I'll just finish. sometimes the coolest thing, which didn't used to be very cool because I'd be like, damn it, that's lost income. Sometimes the coolest thing is that in number one of connection, you make such a deep connection with someone that you actually can support them finding the right person. That is a super cool twisty turn of events when that happens. That's when I realized, okay, now I'm in this powerful seat of being able to connect, and really that first part of like, I'm really going to listen to you. We're really going to have a conversation about creating this ideal client service provider relationship, to the point where I might look at you and go, you know what? It ain't me, babe, but let me support you in finding who it is. I just wanted to throw that in there.
So good. I could see how that could take away a lot of the anxiety around like any sales or making the invitation, because it's like you truly do want their best interest. And you're truly coming from service. Neil.
Oh yeah, wow, Layla, you're really keying in, you're really locking into this stuff. From my perspective, it's been really amazing to see you grow in this, and then also to come to these calls and bring such amazing insight. It's also really cool to see you you know, having both like the mastery on one side, and also kind of like the humility to be able to be like, over in these situations, I've mastered this formula, or this my own style of doing things, and then being able to then go back like into the child or like the beginner's mind when building another business, and the difficulty that lies in that, you know. It can be very easy when you have mastered one thing and there are transferable skills between it and another thing, to just kind of try and jump into like a higher level thing, rather than going back, like realizing you have the skills but maybe not the foundation yet to utilize those skills in the new business or the new arena or the new relationship. So it's really cool to see you be able to balance those two things. I thought that was really profound. And especially when you're talking to the ideal client, I think that is, I think one of the pieces why this is so difficult, and you spoke to it so eloquently, is that you know, out the gates, people are just looking for whoever is going to want to be part of their coaching or their service or whatever, you know. Or it's like casting this wide net, and then when you do that, you get in trouble like that. And just like you had said, it's like suddenly you get clients that don't listen to you, don't do the work, don't get the results, might even bash you online or tell their friends you weren't good, or, you know, they could ruin your reputation, all this stuff because you wanted, you know, success at all costs or money or something like that, you know? And if you notice in this creating clients formula, there's no success at all costs or get all the money, or like there's none of that exists in here. So in that connecting piece, like you're saying, and like what you're really speaking to is the filtration process of that, and putting a really fine filtration process the deeper you go of this, like, who am I going to work with that is going to create the not only the ideal client, but the ideal situation? Like one where they speak highly of you, they might write great reviews, they'll talk to your friends, they'll spread a good reputation about you. It's not going to actually work against your business or your way of life or all that kind of stuff. And that can be a difficult place to sit in, because you might want to get money really soon, or you might want to have that taste of success, right? Or have the right numbers or something like that. And And then just to kind of firm that up with the value piece I was saying before is like, you value yourself on a much different level than when you started out. Like I remember, like you just doubled your income per, like you filtered down deeper and raised your fees. You know what I mean? So it's like when you were doing more generalization, you were doing it for a lower fee and getting in more trouble. Right? So like that's a crazy place to be. So that mastery of connect is about like, that's one of the reasons why when I wrote the email, I wanted to talk about like, what does connect mean to you? Because if connect just means talk to anybody and anybody about anything for any reason to get anything, like, you know what I mean? Then like, it's so broad, you're just gonna get in trouble. You know what I mean? It's like if you're ever like me when I was a kid in high school, I totally fell in with the wrong crowd because I just wanted to be accepted by somebody. And it's like those are gonna be the people who accept you. Like the bottom of the barrel, the first people who are gonna be into what you're doing. It's not gonna be the people who have the things figured out. You know? So like knowing what connection means to you and filtering it, that's like a super powerful device if we unpack what connect really means so that we understand it for ourselves, so we know what we're actually looking for. What is our filter? What because you can look at this and just go connect. Oh yeah, I know what connect is. But do you actually really know what connect is? I don't. I learned from Layla through a lot of her problems. You know what I mean? Watching her, coaching with her, like seeing the things that she's going through, seeing the things I go through in my own business, seeing the things I go through with my friend groups, with other musicians. So now my personal filtration like system is really strong. I only talk to certain people about certain things. And it's not because I don't like people. I love people. It's because I want to connect powerfully with people and I'll see a domino effect from that. This is one more little aside. It makes me think in the Five Rings, if you ever read that book, Miyamoto Mutashi's like he was like an amazing samurai swordsman. And he always talks about if you're going to, he was also a general in the war, in Japanese wars. And he would say the first thing that you want to do, and this is coming made from a different perspective though, is to attack the strongest part of the army as swiftly as you can and with the most energy. So you don't just fight every battle you can in hopes of winning the war. If you hit the most important and most powerful point with everything you have, everything else will fall. So if you look at that from a connection point of view, if you go at the strongest person and you have that, you know, and you believe in yourself and that you have you can deploy the force to do the work and actually make that connection, that will create a domino effect. And that person and the people that they connect with will create all the other connections that are necessary. And you can do it off of that singular connection. So it's better to try and get one really powerful connection than it is to get 500, you know, quasi connections that could get you into trouble. That's my kind of take on it.
So valuable. What an interesting connection to strategy and war and the Five Rings. Great book, by the way. I love that you brought that into this.
Yeah, I've read that book something like 50 times.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a point where I read it every single day. It's the best book that there is.
Thank you. You just enrolled me in reading that again.
It was like my Bible.
That's incredible. I love what's happening in the comments here too, is connect equals discern. So and there's the phrase that keeps coming up as you were speaking, Neil, which is specificity is an act of bravery. And it really does require us to be like, this is brave work to start with step one. Yeah, Layla. It's like specificity. this is brave work to go, if I didn't judge myself for not being able to create this transformation, or not being valuable, or fear of rejection, who would I really love to speak to? Like that's actually really brave work. It's bold. And I could also see how until we do that, we're probably going to be more towards the side of the spectrum of connecting with everyone around everything for any outcome, which probably will be exhausting. Yeah. So there was if I put those thoughts aside, who would I want to connect with? Yeah, yeah. And you know what? I would love to open this up. This is maybe a little bit into a different chapter, so there's a little bit of hesitation, and we can reel it back if this doesn't go well. But there are 5 core attributes that that are in this book about an ideal client. I don't know if people have gotten to that yet, but I think it could be really cool to just kind of all tune in to what are those attributes? What are those specific criteria that make someone be able to receive more value from us and our work than someone else? And if you want to unmute, that'd be great. If you want to throw it in the chat, that'd be great. But I feel like each of us have some valuable specifics that if we could kind of gather here, everyone would get value from.
Can you say it again, Devin?
Absolutely. So essentially, what I wrote down while Neil was sharing was a personal filtration system to connect powerfully. So what are those specific criteria for the people that would get the most value out of your work, and simultaneously that you would love to show up for? Call on you in a sec,
Shall I
Neil. Let
go?
everyone just tune in for a sec.
Sorry, you want it as well.
What's that, Kate? Yeah, this is gold. All right, I'm gonna start reading what's coming in the chat, and I also have the criteria that Rich shared pulled up on my phone. So curious, responsible, full of questions, full of direction. It's awesome, Layla. And that automatically filters out a lot of people and like leaves you with some that are probably more ready to be served. Ready. I love that, Kate. I'm going to read out the ones for Rich just because I think this would be a valuable time to bring them in. See, these are the general ones in the book, and then having our specific personal criteria, I think, is really valuable. So Rich says they must be fun and interesting, and just, you know, see what lands for you. I think it'll be applicable to everyone, but this can be a jumping off point. Layla, humble and open. That's amazing. So these are Rich's. They must be fun and interesting. They must have an inspiring mission. They must be making a significant impact in the world or are ready to. They must know the power of commitment, and they must bring a solid challenge. Yeah. Yeah, Layla. You know, like, what a great jumping off point to go, do they check these boxes?
And that challenge piece, like that's the part to me that's like not just like, it's like the curiousness. Like if they're like presenting a direction or like a situation where I'm like, ooh, like this person's ready, open to really like meander. You know, this is not a challenge as in I'm gonna have to work 1,000 hours to make this happen. This is gonna be fun. Like we are gonna go the distance, and I'm going to be able to serve them with the highest, you know, we're going to be able to go the deepest, and she's going to have the most amazing experience because she's over here, but so willing to get here, you know, so the challenge becomes that path and that journey that is my service, as opposed to just being like, say, someone who's like, well, I'm fine. It's like, well, okay, then go be fine.
Exactly. It's like, we're not here to drag people to somewhere that we think they should go. At least I'm not. There's something else. I know we're about to wrap this up and come to a close in the next 10 minutes. I love that you tied this in. Yeah. Female engagement. Oh, Jane, first of all, like, what incredible criteria. That cuts the population in half. What a great filter. You know, look at that level of specificity. Female, engaging, able to step into personal leadership, willing to put in the work, energetic. That really creates you know what this brings up? I've been reading Leonardo da Vinci's biography by Walter Isaacson. And there was this description of one of the sculptures that he was creating. And it had such specificity that you could read the paragraph and see it in your mind. And there's one approach where I feel like you could just go to the block of marble and be like, I don't know, we'll just chisel away some things, see what happens. Which we might be guilty of doing in our coaching practice, something similar. And then there's the other one where it's like, oh, it's such vivid specificity and clear criteria that now that those constraints are there, oh, I see the person. That's not my person. Maybe it's that person. I love these. Alexis, committed, trustworthy, open, ready for transformation. All right. Well, I want to close this off on something that I think would be really valuable for everyone, which is again another level of like how to implement this and how to make it actionable for everyone, and give some like real examples. And I actually want to invite Alexis to share on something, because we were talking recently and there was a shift in the resistance to make an invitation. And I know, I mean, all of these are invitations in a way. But what was that shift, Alexis, that helped you kind of neutralize making an invitation?
This is back like a month ago when you were like challenging me to do the invitations. Yes.
But then
Well, I
you
got
did,
like,
and you got all
I
these
did,
results.
and I got 2 clients from it. Yeah. I put
So it
this
might
into
work.
practice and got 2 clients. It works. The resistance was like, it's okay to make the invitation. It's okay for people to say no. It's okay for you to be in your business. It's okay for you to be in sales. You're offering a service. Especially when it comes from a place of authenticity and like genuine service. Like, I have this freaking amazing thing. Oh my God, look at it. You want to bite? Like, here it is. You want to share this with me? You know? And I feel like once I can tap into that myself, that authenticity can be really like magnetic and palpable. And I saw it work. Like, and now other people are like, hey. I'm like, wow, this is so magnetic. So it was like allowing myself just to be human. And yeah, I think it was like the fear of sales. Like, it's okay for you to be in your invitation and not do it from a salesy place. I think the authenticity is like the biggest word that's popping up. Is like, just be authentic. It's okay to get a no. For all of you who don't know, he challenged me to get 10 no's, and I kept getting yeses and maybes and yeses. And I was like, I still don't have, I think I got 1 no. 1. Yeah.
Well,
It's powerful.
Alexis, you still have 9 more to collect. We'll stay posted. I love that you shared that. And Neil, thank you for continuing this in the chat. Strong listening skills, flexible, determined, open-minded, results-driven. That's a little bit of a different topic now. But Alexis, the thing that I remember sharing with you is there was all of that like fear of invitation and salesy. I guess Alexa responds when I say your name. What I shared, and I think this would be valuable for everyone possibly, was if we think about it like selling something, like we're doing it to someone, like we're manipulating them, and there are all these slimy sales things, we're probably not going to want to do it, right? And I think when we were talking, I was just like, if this were a bonfire and you were to go, who would I actually want to be sitting around the bonfire kicking it with? And I would be excited to invite them. And if they couldn't make it, it's kind of like, oh, bummer. Like, well, we're still having the party over here. If we can bring that energy in, I love that Kate, I think it was Kate or Jane, I was like, don't change the energy. Like, just stay in your truth and that place of like, yeah, a gracious invitation into something that would be fun and useful and memorable. Doesn't have to be something that we're like inflicting on someone. It's an invitation. How do we make it a fun invitation? Neil, I feel like you have some great insights around number one. If you're down to share, maybe like close us out a little bit. I know we're at time, but would you like to give us an example of an invitation, of a connection that's just felt really simple and authentic?
Someone that's simple, a connection that's simple and authentic. Well, first of all, just as a closing thing, I just want to thank you, Devin, for so seamlessly and fluidly facilitating this call, which I think is fantastic. Thank you for being the first to manifest my vision, and I like that you created yourself and created this call in such a fantastic way. So thank you for showing me that this works, and I can't wait to see what comes out of it. So I would say, so even with that being in mind, connecting with you has been easy. Connecting with you has been super easy and awesome, and you've been super open. You'll always respond to my text messages. You send me cool stuff. It's been a fast friendship. Feels great. Lots of support and love and kindness, generosity. You're a fantastic person, a great and inspiring person. Thank you for always coming to the calls and supporting this situation. You're a pillar in this society, and you proved it. Not that you needed to, but you went above and beyond and accepted this call in the midst of all the things that you do in your life. So thank you very much. I could really not ask for any more. I'm super happy about it. And I can't wait to continue this energy with everyone else who joins this call. You are all so courageous, and people are listening. So thank you again for doing this. So,
You're a master of acknowledgement. Thank you.
so
Until next week, guys.